Breaking. Putin just handed Britain a 72-hour deadline, and what he's demanding could force the UK to choose between betraying its allies or facing direct conflict with a nuclear power. This isn't a rumor. This isn't speculation. An encrypted message arrived at the Foreign Office at dawn this morning, and, according to government sources who spoke on condition of anonymity, what it contains has senior ministers more frightened than anything they've seen since taking office. Here's what's happening right now while you're watching this. Emergency meetings started before most of London woke up. Intelligence chiefs led their scheduled briefings and rushed to Downing Street. Military commanders got urgent calls, and Karma's government went into full crisis mode, the kind usually saved for terrorist attacks or active military threats on British soil. The response wasn't just quick, it was immediate. Cabinet members were pulled from morning appointments. Security advisors cleared their schedules, and within 2 hours of that message arriving, the entire machinery of British government had shifted into high alert. If you want to follow this story as it breaks, hit subscribe right now. This situation is moving fast, and the next 72 hours could change everything. We're tracking every development in real time. So what's actually in this message? The Kremlin claims Britain crossed what Putin calls a red line. Russia accuses the UK of running covert operations that threaten Russian security. And Moscow isn't asking for an apology or a phone call or a diplomatic meeting. They're demanding action, specific action with a specific timeline. But here's what makes this different from typical diplomatic tensions. The tone of the message, according to those who've seen it, wasn't the usual careful language of international relations. It was direct. It was aggressive. And it made clear that Moscow views this as a moment requiring immediate response. Downing Street won't confirm the exact wording. Every official statement today included the phrase national security reasons. Every minister who spoke to the press gave carefully rehearsed answers that said almost nothing. And that silence is telling its own story. Because when your government refuses to answer basic questions, when they hide behind legal language and dodge every detail, people start asking the obvious. What are you so afraid of us knowing? The lack of transparency has made this crisis worse. Social media is exploding with theories. News channels are running 24-hour coverage. Political commentators are filling the void with speculation. And every hour that Starmer stays quiet, public anger grows louder. Inside Parliament today, the tension was immediate and intense. Starmer stood at the dispatch box trying to project calm. He said Britain acted within international law. He praised UK intelligence services for their professionalism and dedication. He promised strength and resolve. He used phrases like proportionate response and appropriate measures. But members of Parliament weren't buying it. Not even close. Conservative MPs demanded full disclosure. They accused the Prime Minister of hiding the truth while the nation faces a genuine threat. One backbencher stood and asked directly, if Britain has nothing to hide, why won't the Prime Minister share what Russia actually said? The question got loud applause from opposition benches. Reform UK went further. They claimed the government had provoked a nuclear power without any real plan for what comes next. They demanded emergency debates. They called for intelligence committees to review what happened. They accused Dharma of playing politics with national security. Even Labour's own members looked uncomfortable. They shifted in their seats. They exchanged worried glances. Some took notes, but said Nothing. The usual party loyalty seemed strained by the weight of what they weren't being told. And the question that kept cutting through all the noise was this: what's in that message that you won't show us? Starr gave no new information. He repeated the same lines he had already used in earlier statements. He thanked MPs for their questions. He promised ongoing briefings, but he offered nothing concrete, nothing that could actually answer what Parliament wanted to know. And when the session ended, MPs left more frustrated than when they walked in. The chamber emptied slowly, with small groups gathering in corridors to share their concerns privately. But here's where this gets truly dangerous. Multiple sources speaking anonymously, because they're not authorized to discuss classified intelligence, claim Putin's warning has a hidden second section, something Downing Street hasn't told Parliament, something they definitely haven't told the public. According to these sources, Russia isn't just complaining about UK intelligence operations or border incidents or cyber activity. They're making a specific demand, a demand that could break Western unity and weaken NATO's entire Eastern defense strategy. Moscow allegedly wants Britain to pull active support from a key Eastern European ally. The sources wouldn't name which country, but they made clear this isn't about reducing military aid or scaling back training missions. This is about full withdrawal, complete disengagement. If that's true, Starmer is trapped in an impossible position with no clean exit. Say yes, and Britain looks weak. Allies lose faith in London. Decades of defense partnerships start crumbling overnight. Every nation watching learns that threatening the UK gets results. Poland starts questioning commitments. The Baltic states wonder if they're next. And Putin learns exactly how much pressure it takes to break British resolve. Say no, and Britain faces direct confrontation with a nuclear-armed state that's already fighting the largest European war since 1945. A state that has repeatedly proven it follows through on threats. A state that has shown willingness to absorb massive economic costs, international isolation, and military losses to achieve its goals. There's no middle ground here. No diplomatic compromise that satisfies both sides. No clever solution that lets everyone save face and walk away. There's only bad and worse. And everyone in Westminster knows it. You can see it in how ministers avoid eye contact with reporters, in how prepared statements sound increasingly hollow, in how even the most experienced political operators seem genuinely uncertain about what comes next. Outside Parliament, the British public responded immediately and forcefully. Within hours of the first reports, protesters filled Westminster Bridge. The crowd was large, loud, loud and deeply divided. Some waved Union Jacks and demanded Britain stand strong against foreign threats. They chanted slogans about sovereignty and strength. They held signs reading, "Never bow to tyrants," and "Britain stands firm." Others carried different signs, demanding transparency, accusing the government of hiding the truth from the people who elected them. They wanted answers more than they wanted action. Their chants focused on accountability and honesty in government. The mood was tense. Police lines held as crowds pushed forward. Helicopters circled overhead, their cameras feeding live footage to news networks. Journalists moved through the crowd, capturing interviews, reactions, arguments between protesters with different views. This wasn't staged political theater. This was a country facing real uncertainty and a public that refuses to be kept in the dark while their government makes decisions that affect everyone. By evening, protests spread to Manchester. Birmingham and Edinburgh. Smaller. Gatherings formed in Bristol, Leeds, and Newcastle. The crisis wasn't just Westminster's problem anymore. It belonged to the whole country, and the whole country wanted answers. Then, something unexpected happened. Buckingham Palace, which almost never comments on political matters, released a rare public statement. It was short, it was pointed, and it was impossible to ignore. His Majesty remains fully informed and deeply concerned about the evolving situation. Constitutional experts immediately noted the significance when the monarch steps into the shadow of a geopolitical crisis. Even symbolically, it means the stakes have gone beyond normal politics. It means the head of state feels the need to acknowledge this publicly. Palace insiders reported senior aides moving urgently through corridors all afternoon. The king was receiving constant briefings from government officials and intelligence services. And while no further statements came, the message was clear. The Crown is watching and expects this handled with extreme seriousness. This is no longer just a government problem. It's a national crisis. And that distinction carries weight in British political culture. Across the Atlantic, the White House moved fast. Within hours, a formal statement backed Britain and condemned what American officials called aggressive and destabilizing rhetoric. From Moscow, the statement praised UK leadership and reaffirmed the unshakable bond between the two nations. It promised full support for British security and warned Russia brush against further escalation. But even this support raised questions. Why did Washington respond before Downing Street finished crafting its own message? What coordination happened behind closed doors before either government spoke publicly? And most importantly, what does America know about this situation that British citizens haven't been told? Sources in Washington suggested U.S. intelligence had been tracking this crisis for days before the message even arrived. If true, it means the UK government had advanced warning and still appeared unprepared for the public reaction. It suggests coordination between American and British intelligence that the public wasn't aware of. The speed of America's response suggests this crisis affects more than just Britain. Whatever Putin's message contains, it clearly worried more than one Western capital, and that raises the stakes even higher. The most striking moment of the day came from an unexpected place. A senior UK military commander speaking off the record to defense journalists offered a blunt assessment that spread across news channels within minutes. This is not rhetorical. This is strategic positioning. The United Kingdom must respond decisively, or we risk looking vulnerable not just to Russia, but to every adversary watching how we handle this. When military leaders start issuing warnings, even anonymously, it means professionals who assess threats for a living believe the situation is serious. Serious enough to break protocol and speak out. These are people who spend their careers preparing for worst-case situations, and they're treating this as one. The Ministry of Defense declined comment on the remarks, but the warning was already out there, spreading through news coverage and social media late tonight after most broadcasts ended. A new detail emerged. A journalist with Foreign Office connections claimed to have seen the final line of Putin's warning, a line that states Russia expects Britain's formal response within 72 hours. Not a request, not a suggestion, an expectation with consequences left deliberately unnamed, but clearly implied. Downing Street won't confirm or deny the deadline exists. The Foreign Office declined all questions. Every Minister on late-night programs repeated the same careful, prepared answers that revealed nothing new. But if that deadline is real, the clock started ticking the moment that message arrived. This morning. And nobody, not the government, not the opposition, not intelligence services, will publicly say what happens when time runs out. As London slept, the crisis deepened in ways the public won't see until morning. Sources inside Whitehall confirmed the security services quietly raised the national threat level just after midnight. No public announcement, no citizen alerts, but those with security clearance felt the shift immediately. Encrypted calls buzzed across government departments, military readiness protocols activated at bases nationwide. Senior officials who had gone home were called back to their posts. The quiet machinery of national defense began moving in the background. Inside Downing Street, lights stayed on past 2 a.m. Starmer met continuously with his closest advisors, reportedly wrestling with the most important decision of his political career: what to tell the public, what to hold back, how to project strength without making things worse, how to satisfy both allies who demand firmness and citizens who demand transparency. One advisor said afterward, "Every word matters now. The wrong sentence could change everything." So here's where Britain stands this morning. A foreign power issued a direct, aggressive warning. The government refuses to disclose what it says. Leaked intelligence suggests demands that could destroy Western alliances built over generations. A deadline may be approaching with unknown consequences, and the British public is being asked to trust leaders who won't explain what's actually happening. This isn't normal diplomacy. This isn't routine international tension. This is a test of leadership, of transparency, of national resolve, and of whether Britain can hold steady when pressure comes from every direction at once. The question now isn't what Putin said in that message. It's what Keir Starmer will do about it. Will he stand firm and risk worse conflict? Will he negotiate and accept being called weak? Or will he keep hiding behind national security while millions demand to know what their government is doing in their name? We don't have answers yet, but we're tracking every single development as this unfolds. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. We're covering this around the clock. Drop your take in the comments. Should Britain stand firm or seek dialogue? And if someone you know needs to understand what's really happening, share this video. This story is far from over. The clock is ticking, and the next 72 hours will show the world exactly what Britain is made